The value of being vulnerable. You see, if you are like me and you say that it's difficult to be vulnerable, trust me, I may not understand your story or your circumstances completely, but I don't ever underestimate the difficulty of being vulnerable. Vulnerability is difficult, for one, because of the fear. The fear that we have that we may change or alter a relationship, or maybe even we may feel rejected or abandoned. You may be vulnerable to someone and now you fear that the relationship will now change. Or even worse, that person may reject you. However, I challenge you to think about the perspective, your perspective, actually, of where you're viewing this potential conversation from. The vantage point that you're viewing yourself from. Are you viewing this from your most confident self? Or are you viewing this from your abandoned self? Is another abandoned moment or another moment which you felt abandoned speaking at this moment of vulnerability rather than the one that's in front of you? Is transference occurring? Essentially, who's going to be the one speaking whenever it is you're vulnerable? And I say this because the more difficult it is to be vulnerable about something, the more potential it has for purpose. Why? Because if you're able to get over something so difficult to the point that it feels impossible to even speak on, imagine how many people could learn from your testimony. Imagine how many people would benefit and grow. Not just because it's heartfelt, but because it's harmonious. Because they're going through the very same thing as you. Another reason why we don't like to be vulnerable is because of pain. There's fear and there's pain. However, note this, that purpose is packaged in pain. This may not take the pain away, but it gives your pain a purpose. Because your pain isn't simply a pain anymore. Now it's preparation for a better tomorrow. Worded differently, you didn't choose this pain, but you can choose what you're going to do about it. Thus, if purpose is packaged in pain, are you willing to open it? Are you willing to open up that package? Or should I say, are you willing to open up? Some of us view this pain as a halt or a stop button or even a mute button. But why? Why stop at pain when the goal is purpose? Why stop at pain if for anything that has ever been purposeful in your life, pain was included in the cost? You see, the very thing you dread the most, God will use to develop you. Because again, purpose is packaged in pain. So when it comes to vulnerability and fear and pain, remember that vulnerability isn't simply just venting. It's also a vantage point. It's also a value. It's also a virtue about where you are with certain concepts, about where you are with certain circumstances, and about where you are and who you are in the midst of your relationships. The reason why vulnerability is difficult, thirdly and finally, whether fear, pain, but also because it's not automatic. It's not immediate. Giving up is automatic. Quitting feels automatic. Not sharing, not saying sorry. But you see, asking for help is not automatic. Apologizing is not automatic. Searching for God is not automatic. Being vulnerable is not automatic. You see, just because it's not automatic or immediate does not mean that it's not vital. Does not mean that it can help you grow. Some things in life take not only time, but it also takes the ability to be vulnerable. Take the time to share, not just the time to build. Vulnerability has value. God bless.